everyone. Thanks for coming back to the TechDecisions podcast. Today's episode is about hybrid work and the technologies that organizations need to deploy to ensure a successful hybrid work strategy. And that includes how to do all of this without burdening an already swamped IT department. To talk about this is Scott Wharton, the Vice President and General Manager of Video Collaboration at Logitech. Scott and I get into the weeds about what end users need and how IT can support those hybrid work configurations with tools available on the market. Before we get to Scott, here's a quick reminder to download and subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, Spotify, and Google to hear weekly interviews with tech experts that can help you make the right decisions for your organization. And now here's Scott. And we now welcome on Scott Wharton, the VP and GM of Logitech Video Collaboration. And Scott's here to talk to us about remote work and now hybrid work collaboration trends in 2022.
Great, thanks for having me.
Of course, Scott. So now that we've all gotten pretty comfortable working remotely, now what tools do we need in the office for when employees do come back, or for organizations that are adopting that kind of hybrid work model?
Well, I think one of the things we're going to do is we're going to have to improve the video experience where people are both at home or in the office, because during the pandemic, we were all kind of democratized having our little boxes, and that worked pretty well, I think, for the most part. And one of the ironies is when you have some people remote and some people in the office, actually can be worse in some cases. So I think part of what we'll need is better video in conference rooms so the remote people can actually see and hear people really well. And it can't just be sticking a laptop at the end of the table or a webcam or something like that. Like, I think most people know that's not good enough and It doesn't really work.
So specifically, what kind of tools do organizations need to deploy in those conferencing spaces that kind of can convince employees to come back?
Yeah, I'd say it's part of it is a couple things. So one is there are systems now that are dedicated to work with Zoom, Microsoft, or Google, and others. But the idea is that you get a dedicated system that's reasonably priced that you can just walk into any space or conference room and make it easy to use, high quality audio and video. The other thing is you want really good software that will kind of move the camera around. Like kind of early video systems were just this camera in the front, didn't really move. You had to pick up some crazy remote control that no one, quite frankly, knew how to use. A lot of the systems are a lot smarter now. In fact, Logitech just announced something today, which we call Right Sight 2, which is basically uses AI to do some auto framing. So it allows you not only to frame the active speaker, but also everyone in the room. So you could see not only the person who's in the active discussion, but you can kind of see everyone in the room, because sometimes you want to see the active speaker. Sometimes you want to see the person reacting to whoever's talking. So we just announced that today, I think, is an example of smart software that goes along with equipment.
Right. So, as you kind of mentioned, people got used to firing up a Zoom call from their home office or their couch, wherever they work, whether at home. So how do you make sure that, those in-office collaboration tools are as easy to use as a Zoom meeting on your laptop?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think historically, the problem with video was not just the fidelity of the video, it was too hard. You needed kind of a captain video to come in on a cape from IT and help people figure it out. Over the last few years, though, again, players like us working with Zoom, Microsoft, Google have come up with some systems where it's kind of one touch to join. So you put these systems in a room, they're kind of like smart tablets that are dedicated to video conferencing. So you walk in, meeting's already set up, and all you have to do is click and join. And I think that's kind of become a prerequisite, because you don't want to go in there and have to fiddle with some remote or spend the proverbial 15 minutes trying to figure out how to start a meeting. People will get frustrated and just go to their desk or stay at home. So these things, the good thing is these things are pretty now established and mainstream, and part of these Zoom rooms or Teams rooms or Google Meet rooms, et cetera.
So it's interesting. Over the last 2 years, I assumed, as we all see these headlines about cybersecurity and whatnot, that IT was, just dealing with that all the time. But it actually turns out that hybrid work issues and issues with, these kind of technologies are actually burdening IT departments and causing them a lot of stress. So how do you make their jobs simpler, and how do you help them support their organization's hybrid work strategy?
Yeah, I think one of the challenges that I think we've seen IT people have is that their domain used to be people in the office.
Mm,
And if you're working at home, maybe they would support you, but you're kind of on your own. The problem now is you don't have one or two people working from home. You now got maybe half people or more. So the IT people, not only do they not are they overburdened, but they just don't have the tools and visibility that they have in the office. Actually, the second thing we announced this morning, so making news on your podcast, we announced an expansion of our tool called Sync. So it's kind of a device management system. Today, it had worked only for conference rooms, but what we announced today is that now works for remote devices at home, like webcams, headsets, docs. So if you're an IT group, now you get visibility to what's going on and analytics for all these devices. And I think it's going to become, a critical function for IT people, because today, you call up and you go, my Teams is broken. And the IT person goes, yeah, I don't know how to fix that. Like, so
right.
this hopefully will help with some of that.
Right, right. So I actually was just looking at that news, and then actually just wrote it up for the website. So that covers both, in-office collaboration tools and those remote tools for like webcams, headsets, etc.
Yeah, that's right.
Great, great. And previously IT has had a lack of visibility into specifically remote workers and in the tools they have access to.
Yeah, I mean, IT tools are really designed for this idea that if you want to get support, you're in the office. But the
Right.
reality is that this whole hybrid work thing has completely shattered that notion.
Mm.
And we just haven't had the right tools. So I said people would call up and they go, my thing is broken, and the IT people go, yeah, dude, I don't know how to help you with that. Like, what does that
Right.
mean, or what are you seeing? So I think the idea is extending out that view from IT to basically be everywhere people work is critical,
Right.
and it's just starting to roll out now.
Right. So the Logitech news aside, you see that as a kind of a growing trend of IT gaining visibility into those hybrid work operations more and more to really get past this, oh crap, we need Zoom or Teams or something to sustain ourselves during the pandemic, and now that hopefully this thing is going to end relatively soon in our lifetimes. I hope that now this is a way to move forward and actually support our and grow our hybrid work strategy.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you look at historically, maybe you were a techie and you're listening to this and you're at home and you can mostly figure out kind of your issues. But the reality is, most mainstream people now working at home, not all of them are IT
Yeah.
oriented. So if they get a problem and it breaks, um, they don't really know what to do to fix it. You can't just walk over to your IT bar and get it
Mm,
fixed. So I think we're going to see a productivity crisis if we don't. And I'm sure people listening to it going, yeah, I can think of something that broke, and I just had to deal with it because I didn't know how to deal with it. So this is kind of a way of addressing that on a more broad basis.
right. Great. Very good, Scott. What else do you see going forward in 2022 and beyond, for kind of supporting this idea of distributed work? And what else do you guys have cooking up, or what do you see in the broader industry?
Well, I think when people talk about hybrid work, there's just an assumption that, all right, we'll go from 5 days a week to, everybody throws out 2, 3 days a week, people in the
Yeah.
office. There's a problem with that. People don't want to go to the office in a lot of cases because it's not compelling enough. I mean, as an example, you want to go into the office not just because you want to work, you want to make sure that your colleagues are there. But there's a bunch of problems with that. Like, how do I know my colleagues are going to be there? Which ones?
Mm,
Um, and I don't want to go in the office and just be on a conference call by myself.
right.
So I think what we're finding is this chicken and the egg thing where management may say, I want people to come in, but if the office is empty, a lot of people are not coming in. So it needs to be something that's compelling. So part of what would be compelling is fun, maybe food or lunch or other things. But I think you need to kind of know who's in the office. And today, when we ask people, how do you do it? They go, oh, I IM'd people, I emailed, like it really is very clunky and doesn't scale. So I think part of what's going to be needed is not only a system where you figure out, well, how do I find out if a desk is free if you're going to do like hot desking? but also more of a system to find out who am I going to work with, who's there. Because the other thing you don't want is, well, 3 days a week, but if everybody comes in the same days, like you're not going to have enough resources and you won't save anything. So I think it's created this whole new problem, which I think is really interesting, and we don't really know how to solve it. So I think there would be players like us and others who are looking to figure out, well, how do we solve this to make it compelling enough to say, why do I go in the office, not just I should go in the office.
Right. Very good. All right, Scott, thanks very much. We appreciate your time.
Great. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.